keep your eye over here. This is where we see shadow figure a lot of times. So
when you're live?
Oh yeah.
All the time.
Okay. Good stuff.
We'll see if they show up tonight.
Get your tongue up. No, get out of here. Sorry, I'm yelling at my dog. Hopefully some people's join us. Looks like we've got one viewer. Thank you to whoever you are. I can't see who you are.
That was me.
But hello, it's Tipsy and Witchy.
Welcome.
Thanks for joining us. We've got our amazing, wonderful, spectacular friends, Joe and Jennifer Shortridge of 222 Paranormal Podcast. We've had them on the show before, and we just had to have them back. So here they are.
So happy to be back. I guess.
Good. And if you're not happy, don't tell me.
Okay.
So,
hey, at least you know our names. The interview I did a couple nights ago, the girl didn't even know my name.
Oh.
She kept calling me Joe Paranormal Podcast.
Well, she had part of it, right?
Part of it, yeah.
Well,
She could have called you like Bob or
yeah.
Charles or something.
That guy.
Stinky muscle teats.
Exactly. So tell us a little bit about what's new and what y'all been up to and how life is treating you.
Go ahead, Jen. Tell them
Okay,
all about
so
your new adventure.
Life's been good. I just got over the flu. So I'm a little poofy and a little raspy. But, the last couple of months, I've just been working on my book. I have a new book coming out, guys. Ohio, the Haunt of It All.
Nice.
And that will be coming out soon. It's a collection of ghost stories from all the 88 counties in Ohio. And we have some really interesting stories that we could talk about.
Excellent.
Fun things. Other than that, Joe and I are getting ready to go to the tropical island vacation. We're very excited about that.
And I wasn't invited because
it's in my suitcase.
You wouldn't like it.
No, it's sunny and there's drinks and it's
haunted sugar plantations.
A lot of sand. You don't want
pirate stuff.
Yeah, you're right. I would rather stay in the northern area with 7 degrees and blowing snow.
Oh no, it's going to be terrible. It's going to be about 85.
But I just got an email from St. John's, and it said 10 things you didn't know about St. John's. But there's actual pirate treasure still hidden on the island somewhere. Like,
really?
How exciting would that be to just have a little adventure and try to find some weird.
Well, when they say treasure, like, do they actually mean like gold or something, or is it a treasure of just anything?
I would think it is some kind of jewels, gems, gold, silver, because that's what they traded in back then.
Skulls.
Yeah.
Chicken feet.
Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp. Oh, he's on the rum gun.
But like that's exciting. Joe and I, we love like mystery and adventure, and we like that kind of stuff. So we're really into like just maybe taking a hike out and looking at the what do they call those hieroglyphs, petroglyphs?
Yeah, there's petroglyphs.
That kind of thing. But the island has a lot of haunted history, so it's really an eerie place. Even though it's like great for vacations, but there's a lot of spooky stuff.
So wait, so where are you guys going?
The U.S. Virgin Islands, St. John.
Oh, I want to go.
I know. Come with me. My suitcase. I need my suitcase.
Mitchell, watch the dogs. Okay, I'm going to be gone for a minute.
Yeah.
Right.
Where are you going? Oh, just somewhere.
Somewhere haunted.
I'll just take work with me. Not a big deal. It's fine.
Yeah. You sit and work and watch the iguanas roll over your feet.
Well, that just sounds awful. So so do you guys have like paranormal stuff planned then, like ghost hunts or anything like that?
So last time we went a year ago, Joe and I went to two different ruins of old sugar plantations. And the one that we went to is kind of like a state park, and they still have some of the buildings up, but it's like shells of buildings, or maybe a wall still up. And it had a really creepy vibe to it. Like you walked in and you felt presences there.
Okay.
Like you could tell something was still around.
That's awesome.
Could have been lizards, could have been ghosts. I don't know.
They even had the slave quarters still up.
Okay.
You could look down and see them. You couldn't go down to them, but they were basically huts about the size of 2 dog houses, and that's it. That's where they stayed. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, we have modern conveniences, but can you imagine what the conditions would have been like with no bug spray, and it's hot, and there's very little fresh water, and you're working in 95-degree weather.
There's probably a reason that I remember this lifetime and not the past ones. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
Like maybe I don't want to remember those times without my lovely off and indoor shelter with windows.
Yeah, I'm just thinking today. Oh. Go ahead, Joe.
No, I said I wouldn't mind doing a past life regression.
It would be interesting. I've been told that I used to live in solace in the woods, and I had a pack of dogs. I'm like, that almost sounds like my life now, but okay. Except I'm in farm fields and not the woods.
Right?
And I'm not a man, but that's all right.
I had one done one time, and it said that the reason that I have such a fear of bridges is that I was a man in like the 1800s England, and I got robbed. I got shanked and then thrown off a bridge.
Oh.
But what's interesting about that is I was just thinking today, actually, our lineage on my mom's or my dad's side is from England. Okay. So Shortridge is an English name.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, Joe, we should do some research to see, who's in our lineage going back overseas. Because, with England being such an old, or island or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But, we could have maybe some interesting.
I mean, lineage. The Shortridge name does have, we've got Shortridge High School in Indiana. We've got, what was the name of the person that came over? It was on the Mayflower?
I think it was Marmaduke Shortridge.
Okay.
Marmaduke?
Yeah.
Because I looked up the Mayflower, and I didn't see his name on any of the lists.
He was on a different ship. He wasn't on the Mayflower. He was on the Nina.
Oh, okay.
Nina or something like that. Anyways. But, it's funny because, Joe and I are very much into the paranormal, and I was thinking back, like, what's in our lineage? Like, who were our people and what did they believe in? My dad's half Native American and German, and my mom's German, Irish, English. So I don't know. Maybe we have some old druid in our family somewhere, and that's why we have this love for the paranormal.
I mean, we might be related because we're German and English too, so we could be cousins.
Hey, cuz.
I mean, I'd be fine with it. I'd claim you guys as family in a heartbeat.
Yeah. We're just trying to find our Native American lineage so that if possible, we can get in on some of that casino money.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Jeez.
They get enough of my money, so I need some back.
Someone did ask me one time what tribe I was with, and I told them I was with the Chuahoho tribe. I mean, just look at me. You can tell. Get it? Chuahoho. Never mind.
Oh, shit. That's funny.
You can have them. He's all yours. shipping them off to you guys.
We highly entertain dad jokes around here.
Yes.
I mean, I was going to say, me and Conrad aren't any better. That's just how brothers and sisters roll. So.
Yeah. That's true.
There always has to be a pun or a song involved, or a meme.
No.
Absolutely.
And I'm as funny as a vest with no sleeves.
Okay. Can we talk about this or something?
So, as you asked earlier, what were we up to?
Yeah.
I'm writing a book also about my shared death experience with my best friend Jackie.
Okay.
I'm working on that. That's going along good. I've got a lot of it together, but I got to put it all in order now. And I'm also looking for other people that have had shared death experiences. So if you know of anybody who would be willing to tell their story in a book, send them my way. So I'd like to get like 4 stories besides mine.
What can you tell us about the book that you're writing?
It's okay. So me and my best friend Jackie passed away, and it's a long story, but basically when I was driving to the hospital, when they said they were going to pull the plug, I felt a wave of heat come through my body. Imagine if you took an element out of the stove and put it over your body and just kind of went down. That's what I felt, like a line of heat that went all the way down. And before that, I was a babbling idiot. And because, I'm on my way to the hospital, and they say, I know I'm not going to make it in time because it's a 2-hour drive.
Right.
But I was on my way there, and I was a wreck. I shouldn't have been driving, but I felt this line of heat go right down my body, and not like a total wave, just a steady line. And it went down, out my arms, out my fingers, and out my toes. After that happened, I was perfectly calm, just like I am now. So the hour passed, and I made it to the hospital. I walked in and saw everybody, and I saw her husband. I'm like, well, how's it going? And he says, well, they stopped all the medications about an hour ago, and they don't know how she's still alive. And I'm like, okay, because they stopped her breathing, everything.
Yeah.
And that would have been the when they did that would have been the exact same time that I felt that.
Right.
I was still an hour out. And I got in the hospital to talk to Jeff, her husband, and he's like, you want to see her? I'm like, yeah. So I walked in, and she was laying there, and I touched her hand, and the alarm went off, and the nurse came in and said she just passed. So she waited for me. Yeah. So that's what the book's going to be about, plus all the communication afterwards, because I've had tons of communication with her through songs. She used to play in the REO Speedwagon High Infidelity CD and record and cassette over and over and over till she killed them all. And she would, before she passed, she would be calling me, like I get online and she'd be like, hey Joe, hey Joe, hey Joe. And I'm like, all right, And the last words were, Cleveland in the morning, because she had to go in for her test. And she never made it out. But I would get songs there's one song from the High Infidelity CD that she used to love. And I'd go into places and the song would be on. If I thought about her, I'd hear the song. The morning after we all came home from the hospital, I got in my car, and my car was on a different radio station I never listened to. And that song started just as I started the car.
Aww.
That night, I had a dream about her. And being the nice friend that I am, I looked at her in my dream, and I was like, last time I saw you, you were dead. And I don't remember what she said after that. But dreams constantly of her. But the weird thing about the dreams was she was deaf. She had a cochlear implant.
Okay.
But in our dreams, I noticed that we never move our lips. She's never moving her lips. I'm never moving my lips. It's all like telepathic. And different situations like that. Like about a month ago, I was at work, and I was thinking, well, should I go home and work on the book, or should I go home and work on the show? And just as I thought that, I didn't say it out loud, I just thought that. 3 machines over on somebody's radio, I hear, heard it from a friend who heard it from a friend who. I'm like, okay, I'm going. But that happens all the time. So
yeah.
I'm trying, in the book, it's going to be a lot longer story, but that's pretty much the gist of it. And this has been going on for almost 11 years now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want a copy for sure. I want a copy of both your books for sure.
Yeah.
Please and thank you.
So there's one other thing that happened. And let me see if I can find it on the computer here for you.
Excellent.
I don't know if I can find it. This is great. This is great podcasting when people are just going, well, I don't know. Oh, here it is. Okay, so like I said, she used to always say, she used to always say, hey, Joe, or on the phone or call it, answer the phone. She's like, hey, Joe. Or when I'm on the computer, just pop up all the time. But me and Jen were doing our show one day here. And I know you can't see it, but on the other side of the camera here is my art gallery and then the rest of my house. Me and Jen sitting here. We just got done with the show. And I see a blue light go across. And I'm like, Jen, I just saw a blue light. So she jumps up, grabs the spirit box, and grabs her phone. And this is what she got. Now I'm going to play it. Hopefully you'll be able to hear it. Give me a second. Did you hear that? No?
We couldn't hear it.
No. Crap. All right. Well, I'll have to send it to you later. But anyways,
fine.
We actually got an EVP. It's probably the best EVP I've ever captured or Jen's ever captured. And it says, hey, Joe. And it's her voice.
It's her voice, like clear as day.
I love that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know why it didn't play. It's set up. It should go through the computer. But oh, well.
Maybe she's being shy.
Yeah, who knows?
That's all right. So when do you guys think your books will be ready to go and ready to purchase?
Well,
soon.
Yeah.
Soon.
Jen sent me her picture of her cover. She's having trouble because she can't get it formatted right. It's not formatting right to fit on KDP to put it out. So I'm going to have to get it and reformat it somehow. And once it's done, Jen can release it. But my book is just, I've got it written in stages. I just need to put everything together and finalize it. And like I said, I wouldn't mind getting a couple stories to put in there of other people that have had shared death experiences also, because it's a lot more common than what you think. I mean, it's a lot more common. I mean, it happens all the time. But yeah, as soon as I get my butt in gear and get Jen's book cover done, Jen will be able to release it.
So are you self-publishing both books or?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's what we've done with all our books. Jen's wrote, how many novels have you wrote so far, Jen?
6 or 7. I forget.
And I've got my 14-day morning affirmation transformation book out. But I'm also working on another book for that one, because I should have done another book first and then release that as the workbook, because it's not a book you read, it's a book you do, basically. But that's with my life coaching stuff.
Okay. I might be talking to both of you later. I'm working on something too. I just don't know what the hell I'm doing.
Does anybody?
No.
We just wing it, right?
No.
And if we catch something, we catch it, and if we don't,
that's why one of my favorite phrases to use is adulting, because
right.
I don't feel like any of us are really adults. We're just trying to learn how to adult, because we've never done this before. When you really think about it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Do the best I can do.
I'm trapped in an adult's body that still has kid hobbies.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
Not at all.
No.
It
So
keeps you young.
then, going back to your book, so you said you're gonna have ghost stories from every county of Ohio?
Yep. So I researched hundreds and hundreds of ghost stories, phenomena. You know, sometimes they're just a little blurb, like the house on Main Street, and in Lucas County, it was reported to seeing ghosts. And then I also do a really detailed stories of really interesting true life accounts, I guess you would call it. Mm-hmm. And I put a lot of the history behind, as much history as I could find into the stories, because I know it gets a little redundant where it's like a ghost showed up in my house, a ghost showed up in my house. But why did it show up in your house? What's the history of the house? What's the history of the land? What's the history of the incidents that happened? We have a huge amount of history in regards to the Underground Railroad in Ohio. It was one of the main corridors for the enslaved people to go through to get to Canada because of Lake Erie. And be able, once you get Lake Erie, you're go so far in and you're in Canadian territory, or you'd be able to go up in through Michigan, to get to Canada. A lot of people crossed up through, the Ohio-Michigan border into Detroit and over to Canada because of the proximity to being able to get there. But there's so many stories, and a lot of these houses and inns and stagecoach inns and historic mansions are still operating. There are places that you can go and spend the night in these former inns. A lot of them were tied to stagecoaches, to the Pony Express, that type of thing. They're few and far between. I mean, I say a lot, but we're just losing so many of these locations year after year to development, or just crumbling. They're just there's no money to put into some of these places. And then others are just thankfully restored. We have more presidents were born in Ohio, so there's a lot of presidential homes that are still open as museums, and a lot of those had tied to the Underground Railroad. So many, many ghost stories of people who were in the fight for freedom coming through. You wouldn't believe there's 2 headless horsemen legends in Ohio, but there's also a headless horsewoman legend.
Really?
Which I was fascinated with because I am in love with a headless horseman, right? I keep telling Joe we're going to Sleepy Hollow, New York in October. Hell or high water, we're going.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
To the headless horseman thing that they do there. We in finding or doing all my research, there's we have a huge Amish population in Ohio as well, in Pennsylvania and Michigan too. There's a lot of stories and ghost legends tied to the Amish community, to farming, to barns, to horse and buggy, phantom horse and buggies that have been seen in and around some of the hollers and creeks, tons of crybaby bridges, headless motorcycle ghosts, ghost brides who passed away tragically on their way to their wedding when their horse got spooked by lightning, and it just goes on and on. But they're just amazing, fun stories. There's modern stories. There's stories of museums in and around Ohio. There's a place called the Armory in Cleveland, which during World War II, well, actually go back to pre-Civil War all the way through the modern wars. Soldiers would go there for rest and respite, and to be honored or look for benefits. A lot of the Civil War widows would go there to try to find out information about their loved ones who passed away in the war. So there's a lot of energy, a lot of ties, a lot of ghosts and spirits that show up at this location. It's this big, huge stone building in Cleveland. It's just fascinating. And then the theaters, we have found hundreds of stories of haunted theaters in and around all of Ohio. Like every county had a theater. Every county had a theater ghost and a ghost story. And it was amazing. So much
fun. If I'm going to haunt somewhere and I want to haunt somewhere fun, I'm probably haunt a theater.
Yeah. Yeah, because you always have like energy of the actors and the audience, and it was a place of fun and magic and being creative, a lot of emotions, a lot of sadness tied to when the theaters closed because they were beloved to people.
Right.
The owners took care of them until they died, or maybe the screen projector operator was there for 50 years and he's still seen there. There is one theater, and I think it's in and around Cincinnati, that they still see the guy who did the projector. He worked there, 50 years and just was beloved. They see actors still on the stage. They see the bellhops, still around, or smell a certain cologne that the owner used to wear. And still, like 85 years later, they're still smelling this smell. It's amazing.
I love that.
We live for that.
Since you're a fellow, what are you guys?
Ohioans.
What do you have any questions for Jen?
I was curious of what Lucas County had on there.
Okay, so first and foremost, this house that I'm in right now, it's a 100-year-old house. Joe and I have seen shadow figures walk right in between us.
It was like this.
Just like
if the phone, like just like that, right across from someone.
That's crazy.
You only want to watch back there because sometimes you'll see shadow and light. I've had, the ghost of my ex show up here a couple times after he passed away from cancer. There was a woman who they found down at the end of my street. I felt her presence here. She didn't have anybody to claim her. She was just nope. It was really interesting. So I had my friends over because I was having a lot of activity about 4 or 5 years ago. I had my friends come over, and there was a spirit of a young man and his pregnant girlfriend who were murdered. They said they were shot and killed in the 80s. And they go up and down the main street that I live off is Sylvania Avenue, which we found out is a ley line. And the other street that I live off of was a Native American trail. So the Native Americans used to come down from Adrian, Michigan, and go through Lucas County and meet about 4 miles from my house, Joe, at the Hope Well. It's an actual well. Mm-hmm. And that's where they would do their rituals or trading, their crops and furs and trades. So there's a lot of Native American spirit in and around this area. I live in an area called the 5 Points area because it's like 5 different roads come in at one spot. It's very, very much a buzz with ghosts, spirits. We've had, I don't know if you guys just saw it about 3 months ago, video of a UFO over the city of Toledo.
I think I missed that one. There were so many things coming out. I couldn't really keep track.
Yeah, that was the first UFO type thing that I noticed here. But, we have Native American mounds were present when they built the high level bridge over the Maumee River here in Lucas County. We have haunted theaters, many, many cemeteries that have ghost stories attached to them. We had an interesting story. So in the War of 1812 has great ties to Toledo because one of the generals who was a war hero, his name was Anthony Wayne, and they used to call him Mad Anthony was his nickname. And he built a hotel downtown Toledo right on the water. And it's still there to this day, and it's still haunted to this day. It's called the Oliver House. There's shops and restaurants inside of it. And when hearing weird stuff, this always happens when we're podcasting, though. But they tore down these Native American burial mounds when they built this bridge that's right by this hotel. And Joe could probably touch more on that. But they found giant skeletons in those mounds. So we have giant skeletons.
When you say giant, you mean like literal, like giant people.
Yeah. Ohio is supposed to be one of the places that there's a lot of giant persons, humanoid burials.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's what they believe is in the snake mounds as well.
Yeah. Yeah, Joe, tell them about what they found out by the Toledo Yacht Club.
Yeah, so the thing is with the giants, where the Toledo Yacht Club is right next to where the Coast Guard station is. And in between those two, back in 1880, I think 87 or 88, somewhere around there, the 1800s, they found giant skeletons. I think they found 5 of them right there. And those were the ones with the double rows of teeth.
Oh.
Now, down the river about 10 miles is Maumee, Ohio. And there's an island there that they found skeletons on that island. And those are the ones that had 6 fingers and 6 toes. So there were 2 types of giants that they found in Toledo, in the Toledo area. But the mound that Jen was talking about, when they built the bridge, they plowed it all over to make way for the bridge. Well, everything they plowed over is basically the parking lot area of the what do you call it?
Oliver House.
Oliver House, yeah. The Oliver House. So whatever was in that mound is now underneath the parking lot of the Oliver House. And that area is super haunted. And I believe it's because of the mound was there. And one of the most haunted locations that me and Jen have been in is right there also. And Jen, if you tell them about that, let me jump off here and grab something. And then we'll come back to the giants of Ohio.
Okay.
All right. I'll be right back.
I can imagine it being super haunted if you're disturbing an Indian or Native burial ground like that. I've been to one that's never been disturbed in northern Michigan, where I'm from, and I've experienced some crazy stuff. They don't want you there, and the spirits will let you know.
Really?
And I can't imagine how mad they would be if you did disturb it. So.
Yeah. Well, when they were going to resurface the parking lot, they had dug it up, found the bones, and left them there and just paved over the parking lot. Like, no, regard for these poor Native Americans or whoever it was who was buried there. And what's another interesting thing is right near there was the Toledo Gallows. So the gallows, was where the courthouse, what the original courthouse was, and they would just hang all of the criminals there out in the open square for everybody to see. Well, downtown, there's a building that used to have a popular radio station, rock and roll radio station here in Toledo. And the employees kept seeing this guy in a military, like a early 1800s military uniform there. Well, it turns out that exact location was where the actual gallows was. And there was a famous case where this lieutenant, I don't know if he was a general or lieutenant, I can't remember off the top of my head, but he was hung for treason in the War of 1812 right on that spot. And he appears in the radio station, and then his wife, who is dressed in the full, like poof skirt, regalia type thing, is also sitting there, and they're trying to find each other. And they will literally be in the opposite ends of the hallway, but they can't see each other.
Yeah.
So it's really there's so much downtown Toledo. It's crazy.
I live about 30 minutes from Toledo.
Oh, okay.
Okay, no.
Where are you? I'm in Neapolis.
Oh, okay, yeah. You're not far.
Unincorporated.
He's surrounded by farm animals.
Oh, okay.
There's a story in Liberty Center. I don't know if Liberty Center or Defiance are close to you.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a haunted farm, a pig farm. I don't know if it's still a pig farm, but there's a lot of activity that happens in around this abandoned building that's out in right on the outskirts of Liberty Center. That I put in my book.
Nice.
Check it out.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that happens here just on our property, and I can
really
just driving past certain houses, or I'll see certain things in people's windows or yards that I'm like, okay, that wasn't an actual person, and I look back, okay, yep, they're gone. Like
that's amazing.
So I would think if it's like Ohio just has so much history from,
I attribute it to a couple of things. One, we have a deep history, people living here since the early 15 to 1600s. It could go back further than that, but I'm just talking about settlers, not talking about native people who have been here for, tens of thousands of years. Ohio's built on limestone and quartz. So we're just basically a big giant Timex radiating out.
That's why time is so funky since I moved here. Okay.
It all comes together.
Yeah.
And then we have the Great Lakes. So you have power with the water being a conductor. And then we are on top of, from Detroit all the way to Cleveland, underneath is the salt mines. So you can literally drive from Cleveland to Detroit underneath the earth in the salt mines. So
that sounds sketchy.
Isn't that amazing? It's amazing.
I mean, amazing, but I don't know if I'd be brave enough to do it. I'd be afraid the monsters would get me. I don't know.
Right? The Lake
there's no chupacabras in there.
No, that's Kentucky.
Yeah.
There's just reptilians down there.
Yeah.
And no big deal.
Yeah, goblins.
But
they're entering the lakes through their spaceships. It's okay.
Yeah.
Right.
But we talked about, Ohio having different things, but Ohio used to have over 10,000 mounds in Ohio. And
that are not farmland in cities.
Yeah. And the thing is, a lot of the towns are completely destroy the areas, the mounds. But down in Newark, Ohio, they did preserve the Great Circle and the Octagon Mound. And those there, the Octagon Mound itself, I mean, you could take the pyramids from Giza, the Great Pyramid, put it in the mound, and no matter where you put it, there's always 4 points touching the mound, where the octagon goes to. Yeah. And also the angle of the opening from the center of the mound to the opening to true north is the exact same as the angle of the pyramids. So there's a lot of connections. But the thing is, they were always like, who built the mounds? Because the Native Americans say that the mounds were there when they got there. They said the ancestors built them. So doing some digging, I'm thinking that it could be the Hittites or the lost tribe of the Israelites. And people say, well, wait a minute. How can there be Israelites in Ohio? And you're like, but the thing is, there are the lost tribes that came out of the East Bank or out from that area and made it to Ohio. And there's actual evidence of this. There's evidence written all over the place. So back in 1888, David Wyrick was the county surveyor, but he was also an amateur archaeologist. And he knew that there was something about the mounds. So he would start to dig around the mounds to find stuff. And he ended up finding this here thing. Let me get in the camera.
I was going to say, where are you?
This is the keystone that he found. Okay. And obviously this isn't the real one. It's a copy, but the real one's in Coshocton, Ohio at the museum. But if you notice, there's writing on it.
Yep.
And he was like, oh, it must be like Native American writing all over it. And so he took this down to Cincinnati, and the person down there says, no, that's Hebrew. That's Hebrew writing. And he's like, yeah, but I found this in Ohio. He's like, but it's Hebrew. So they know that there were something to do with Hebrew, and this is old style Hebrew. So
yeah.
We came back, and at this time, there was a mound called the Great Stone Mound. And right now it's where I-70 goes through. But they were taking the mound down to build the wall for the reservoir that's there now, down by Columbus. And when they got done with them taking the mound out, they ended up taking 10,000 cartloads of stone away. And there was a clay basin. So David Wyrick came in with some of his, people to help. He started digging into the bottom of this mound. Now they didn't find any skeletons in the mound. It was just a stone mound, and it was different from all the rest because it was made of stone. So he started digging under it, and the legend has it that he found a giant coffin. And in the coffin was a giant skeleton, and it had copper breastplates, it had copper bracelets. And so we know that Native Americans didn't bury their ancestors in coffins like that. Yeah. They would use the little houses like we see up in Sault Ste. Marie, those little grave houses. They would use those, but this was a giant. And there's two stories. One says that the giant was holding a little box on top of him, and another story is it was under him. But David Wyrick found this little stone box, and he picked it up and it rattled. So he knew something was in it. Mm-hmm. So they popped it open somehow. There's different stories how they popped it open too, but inside of it, they found this. I don't know if you can see it. They found this. Mm-hmm. Okay, this is a stone, and it's got the Hebrew writing all over it also. And if you notice the person, above the person, it says Moshe, which is Moses. So they found this, and they call this a Decalogue stone. All this Hebrew writing all over it is the Ten Commandments written in old style block Hebrew.
Oh.
So this is a stone they found on the giant's chest or underneath the giant. But in that stone mound, they found this. And these are called the Newark Holy Stones. And the real ones are in Coshocton, Ohio, in the museum. And you can go see them there. But in Coshocton, they have the stone box that came in. They have the real, stones. But these are artifacts from who knows how long, maybe 10,000 years ago.
Yeah.
That are found in Ohio. Now, down in Tennessee, in Back Creek, Tennessee, they found a stone, a little one. So they call it the Back Creek Stone. And this was put in a museum for a while. And someone went in there one time and they're like, why is that upside down? They're like, what do you mean? He says, it's upside down. So he flipped it over, said, this is Hebrew writing that says with him on it. And it's just a piece of probably a bigger tablet. So there's evidence all over that there were Hebrew writing people, whether they're the lost tribe of the Israelites or the Hittites, in the Ohio area thousands of years ago. Because the thing is, when they find these giant skeletons, they're so old that once you expose them to air, they just crumble.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean, like Ohio has such rich history of hauntings and that, and I believe a lot of it has to do with the burial mounds and the effigy mounds.
Maybe that explains why a lot of people in Ohio tend to be angry, because all the spirits are upset and they
What do you mean?
bad mood.
Oh, don't tell me that. Oh.
They're only mad on the
Go
road.
there. Go there.
That's what I mean, on the road, especially in the Columbus area. Have you driven through Columbus?
Oh,
Yeah.
Not lately.
First Columbus. That's all I can say. I
drive around Columbus.
Once
Yeah.
since I moved down here.
I drove through there once during rush hour. Never again.
Yeah.
I was driving to keep up with traffic because I was afraid to get run over. I was going 90 and they were still passing me. I'm like, you guys are crazy.
I went there during the Ohio State Fair.
Oh my gosh.
That was nuts.
Oh my.
No thanks. I'm good.
Me and Jen were coming back from I almost said Mount Pleasant. It's not that. Where's the
Mount Vernon?
No, the Mothman Museum.
Oh, Point Pleasant.
Point Pleasant. And we got the bright idea, well, let's just drive up through the center of Ohio, right through Columbus on 23. It'll be a lot quicker. No, it took us over almost 2 hours to get through Columbus because we were on what they call, State Street, which is Route 23. It's like never again. I'll drive around any chance I get.
Yeah, it's some scary stuff. I don't know how you guys do it.
That's scary.
But another place that we should tell you about is right by downtown, and it's called the Bone House. So Jen, why don't you tell them about the Bone House?
Okay, so about 6 years ago, my friends got called to help this guy. He was a young man in his 20s. He had bought this historic house to flip, and it's a small house. I would say it's, I don't know, maybe 1,000 square feet. He goes in there and buys this house. It was built in the early 1800s, and he decides he's just going to gut it, flip it, and resell it. As he gets in there, he starts pulling the floorboards up. He starts pulling boards off the wall, and bones literally start raining out of the wall. They're pouring out onto the floor. Every single inch of the walls, underneath the floorboards, in the ground outside, were completely full of bones.
Well,
so as soon as that starts happening, all weird shit starts happening. Starts happening. The kid gets completely obsessed with trying to find bones in this house, to the point where he leaves his family in the middle of the night and goes over there and starts just digging up everything. So my friends are called in because his wife was so concerned about him. He was almost possessed. And I'm pretty sure he was possessed.
I think so.
So they go over for the first night investigation. They walk up, and they had a couple people with them, just like 3 or 4 people. And this kid is doing a drug deal on the corner and gets shot in the head in front of everybody.
Oof.
And, drug deal gone wrong. That's the first thing. And we're like, okay. So after that was all cleared, and they came back a little while later to investigate. The house had been used for nearly 150 years, possibly almost 200 years, for Santeria practices. So everybody that lived in the house practiced Santeria. There was a pulley in the upstairs where they would pull whatever they were pulling up to sacrifice. A big butcher block table upstairs. The first time that it's still there. The first time that they got into the house and investigated, a 2x4 went flying across the room at them. They saw shadow figures. They captured all kinds of EVPs. The next time, Joe, were you with me the first time that I went?
No.
Or did you come on the second one? Okay, so I get called to go with them on the second time. They found letters written in old time Spanish. I guess it was called something else. Unrequited love letters. Apparently there was a woman who this man was in love with, and she didn't want anything to do with him. They found like underwear, things wrapped in underwear stuffed in the walls, tons of letters stuffed in the walls, hairbrushes, things with hair tied together. These
very intimate objects.
Right. Ritual type.
Yeah.
Things. I got there. We set up some video cameras. We start, and we're upstairs. It's kind of like all open in one big room. We have on video shadow figures standing behind us. I mean, like clear as day. You can see them. They're walking around. They're in the corners. We saw a woman kneeling against the wall praying, like her apparition. There's drawings on the wall of a woman and a peacock and just very strange. Lots of EVPs in Spanish. Joe comes for the third investigation that happens, and 5 of us were upstairs in the attic of this house. It's just a 2-level house, so I call it the attic, but it could have been bedrooms or something. But it's just all open and dusty and old.
Yeah.
Middle of the summer, it's July, it's 95 degrees out. We're sweating like profusely. I say, it's funny there's no bats in here. And guess what happens?
Bats appear.
One giant bat. Now, it was white.
Oh.
It was probably this big, swooped over all of our heads. We all ducked for cover. Now, first of all, there's no white bats in Ohio, let alone in some random.
I don't think there's white bats at all.
Yeah.
Was it an albino, maybe?
No, it was an apparition of some sort.
It had to be an apparition.
It was 4 to 5 foot wingspan, and it swooped over us. And I mean, where we would have seen it bumping against the wall or something if it had come in. It just went over all of us and disappeared.
Huh.
Yeah. Crazy. I mean, everybody saw it. We all freaked out.
Yeah.
I was there that one night, the same night, and I told the owner of the house, I'm like, come on. Every board. He's like, yeah, there's bones under every board. So he grabbed a hammer and, hey, Donna's here.
Hi.
Hey, guys, I'm so sorry.
You're fine.
I was just telling him a story about when we were in the bone house. And so the guy says, here, I'll show you. And he grabs a hammer and pries open a floorboard. And we look down, and this, let's see, this, I don't know if you can see it. Yeah. It's kind of hard to see. It's a bone carved like a face.
Oh.
That was under the board. I left it there. I didn't pick it up. But we just left it in place. And I'm like, oh my God. You know, what's the chances of, one, he prying up a board that has bones under it, but 2, we see a face looking back at us when we pull the board off. I mean, it's not a real face, but it's a carved bone face.
Right.
So that place is wild. And, you know, you know how we love the K2 meter. You take a K2, turn it on, and the green light comes on. You hold that in the door, and it goes all the way to red. Those are useless in that house because no matter where you go in the house, and it's not like it gradually comes up when you go in the house. It literally, if you hold it 1 inch inside, it goes pure red. You hold it outside, it goes back to green.
Wow.
And there's no electricity, no water, no gas. There's nothing. It's just a shell of a house.
Where is this thing?
It's right near downtown Toledo. It's on Newton Street. It's at 201 Newton Street, right by the Amtrak state. What do you call it? Hub or whatever.
Yeah, Amtrak station. You can look on Google, go on Street View on Google and see the house. It's a nice looking little house.
So did they end up taking out all of the bones and stuff and trying to figure out where they came from, or what happened?
Yeah. So the coroner came out and took a sample of a lot of the bones, and it's still inconclusive. We never heard back from the coroner on that. There were confirmed deaths in the house, natural causes type things, and there were funerals that were held or wakes held in the house, but that was normal at the time in the
right.
early 1800s. This is so funny. So the kid lost the house because he didn't pay the taxes, and it was only like $1,800 or something to that effect. Sat abandoned for a couple of years. Then one night I was at the bar and I was talking to my friend who's a real estate agent, and he's like, "Oh my God, I just bought this house. I'm going to flip it. There's a lot of stuff going on at the Amtrak station in the next 5 years. I'm going to make a multimedia space, and just rent it out to companies, consulting companies." Or I said, "What?
Time out."
I said, "Did you buy a house on Newton Street?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Is it 201 Newton Street?" And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "How are you knowing this?" I said, "That's the bone house." He had no clue. He had absolutely no clue of the history of this house. And what's really interesting is he is a Spanish translator. That's one of his jobs besides being a real estate developer. But I said, "Okay, you got to let me back in." Mm-hmm. So they go in, they start renovations, and guess what? Their tools start coming up missing, or the guys are scared and they don't want to work in there. So I had to go back.
Yeah.
And there was nothing. It was silent. It was completely silent. There was nothing there. Wow. I don't even know if it was why.
Maybe they were set free.
Maybe.
Yeah. That night was weird because I was doing the spaghetti warehouse the same night. And the last time we did the spaghetti warehouse, it was one of the best Estes methods I've ever done. That night, which is the same night Jen was at the bone house, not even, a mile and a half away, we got nothing either. We didn't get anything. It was the weirdest thing. And last time we were there, it was super active. So maybe it was the night.
I feel like certain possibly astrological nights, the ghosts just don't want to talk. We've had nights like that where it's just dead.
Yeah.
So how do you guys feel about the full moon affecting paranormal activity?
I think it does.
I mean, yeah.
It either makes
lunacy.
It super active or crazy or nothing.
I mean, the way I think about it is it has such a massive effect on living people. So why wouldn't it have an effect on the dead as well? Because it's still the same energy.
Was it a full moon that night, Jen? I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't know.
No, I don't think so. I think we would have had a lot more activity if it was. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, when I even walked into Bone House that night to grab some equipment, it didn't feel the same. It, like Jen said, it felt empty.
Mm-hmm.
I think somebody went in there between the time that kid owned it and he lost everything. He lost his family.
Oh.
He disappeared. They don't ever know what happened to him.
Wow.
And then
I wish I would have known about it. I would have bought the damn house. Free.
I know.
Paid $1,800 for it.
Right. We have a suspicion that somebody broke in there when it was before it got purchased by my friend. And they did something. Either cast out the spirits or they were trying to do something that they didn't know what they were doing. Maybe something. I don't know.
I mean, anything's possible.
Yeah. You know, it's a little irritating because, first of all, don't break into places. Don't do illegal things to go ghost hunting, right? Like,
Right.
Absolutely.
it gives you a bad reputation, and then the paranormal community gets all.
I was gonna say, then we all get the bad
tither.
reputation.
Right, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's hard to get in legit places because they hear about, people.
Yeah.
Certain people in our area,
Yep.
certain person, I'll say, doing stuff like that. So,
and I feel like the paranormal world is having a hard enough time with that as it is because of all these crazy YouTubers lately.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
Don't add wood to the fire, guys. Come on, we were struggling as it was.
Right.
The latest thing right now is somebody has a Bigfoot toe, has the nail and everything on it, and they posted that on Facebook. They're like, they won't explain where it is or they, all this. I'm like, yeah, because they bought it on Etsy. You can go on Etsy and buy them.
It's an old Twinkie, dried up Twinkie. No,
It's a teeming toe.
Yeah, you can go on Etsy, look it up next time you're on Etsy. Type in Bigfoot toe and you'll see them.
Oh, for God's sakes.
This is why everybody has trust issues. Okay.
Exactly.
Ridiculous.
Exactly.
My God, how did we kill an hour already?
I don't know. It goes so fast.
So fast. Well, is there anything you guys want to share, like your website, when you guys do your podcast, so that people can find you?
Nah,
Come on.
we don't like listeners. We don't like to have listeners. We
keep it all to ourselves.
Where do they need to look out for when your books come out?
Yeah, for
real.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you guys can follow us on Facebook. We also have an Instagram, and we have a website, www.222paranormal.com. We're on YouTube, like you guys are. And, just Joe and I have our own pages. You can check us out there. We'll definitely be posting as soon as we get our stuff together.
Yeah.
I'd say it.
Our podcast is on every podcast outlet. A lot of podcasts are video podcasts, but we're still audio. We're the old school. Been on the air for 9 years now, coming up on 10 years.
Anniversary.
400 and some odd shows, and we haven't missed 1 week yet.
Nice.
That's wonderful.
I missed a week. I had COVID, but Joe was there. Joe even did the podcast after he had a stroke. I mean, come on, this guy's dedicated.
Damn. Well, keep up the good work, guys. We love you, and I know everyone that
we do love you both.
So.
Yes, anytime you need anything, we're always there.
Okay,
we'll
make sure that you come back on our show too.
Yep.
Oh yeah,
guys, come back on ours. I want to hear all your spooky ghost stories.
Okay.
Awesome.
This is a good time. Well, that is all, folks. We are going to wrap up the night. Thank you for joining us. And if you are joining us after the fact, we still thank you for listening. We love you guys. So enjoy the rest of your week. Please stay warm. It's getting cold again. And as always, stay spooky.
We love you all. Have a great
I love you guys.
Bye-bye.